5-10 years ago, everyone would have assumed Christianity's on the downturn, Bible sales are plummeting, all of these things pointing to the potential fruit of secularism and worldview collapse, the moving away of these classically Judeo-Christian societies and divorcing that heritage from their identities. And yet, I think we're finding ourselves in this unique position, this multivalent position, where we're in a Goldilocks zone of kind of worldview perspective. Part of that is these watershed moments that you mentioned. I think World War I and II were one of those that really changed people's perspectives on certain worldview issues. Certainly 9/11 was another one. I think COVID provided another one of those things that just kind of, it gave people enough fodder to start to do things like question authority or see a disenfranchisement with perspectives of people who they otherwise would have considered experts. And you have this, the planting of the seeds of the new atheism that was very popular in the early 2000s, growing into trees that produce fruit that nobody can actually swallow. And so I think that's what we're finding. We're finding that the Overton window with how people operate has moved. And so if people don't know what that means, the Overton window was a policy analyst perspective by an individual named Joseph Overton that suggested that the politicians typically only propose policies within this range of kind of this narrow subset to avoid jeopardizing their electoral support. So there's a window, and that can shift and it can expand or it can shrink over time. And I think what we're finding is that the Overton window is growing and that people are looking outside of things like we were just talking about in terms of the legacy medias, and they're looking to alternative areas of finding information. And this is both great and terrible at the exact same time. And it's coinciding with the advent of the proliferation of the internet and large language models, AI. And I think a lot of people are finding themselves a little bit disoriented with all these different perspectives. So you have this kind of this coming out from the new atheism. People are very, they tried to swallow that dying, rotting fruit that told them that they were just a product of time plus matter plus chance, that they needed to come up with their own meaning and purpose and identity, and finding out that that's really hard, especially when you're the arbiter of all of that. And so there's been a movement in the last 10 years that I've seen. I did student ministry before I was involved formally with a full-time apologetics ministry, where I started to see people identifying as less and less atheist and even less agnostic and more spiritual but not religious. And I think part and parcel to that was individuals who were looking for something that reached towards the transcendence. And I think that's where we find ourselves. And I think we find ourselves in a unique place where I'm finding Gen Zers are reacting against their parents who are largely demographically, they're atheist. And I'm talking to a lot of young people, teenagers, who are saying, well, I don't want to drink beer. That's what my dad does. I don't want to read atheist books. That's what my parents do. I want to read the Bible. I want to go to church. And it's this funny thing where you have all of these waves crashing down simultaneously that they're the tides of worldview perspectives and skepticism towards experts and media sources. And also, I think clearly the Spirit working and orchestrating a lot of these things behind the scenes.